Y'all, thank you for coming. This is a big day for South Carolina. This involves the Children's Internet Safety Governor's Pledge. And you'll hear from Donna Rice Hughes in a moment about how that was created and its purpose. But we all know that our children are our most important asset. We must do everything we can to keep them safe. And we also know this, that South Carolina has the best law enforcement in the United States. We are coordinated. And one advantage we have is everybody here knows everybody. That means we can get things done better. Also, another big advantage we have is our Attorney General, Alan Wilson, has the power of the state grand jury. Most states do not have a grand jury. In many places, the Attorney General does not have criminal authority at all, and sometimes it's secondary. That is, the case has to be delivered from a local prosecutor. In South Carolina, we have all of that authority. Our state grand jury has the same authority as a federal grand jury, which most people are familiar with. But we have a great team, and that team is getting better and better. The problem with internet crime and attacks on children and sex trafficking and all of those things are part of a horrible picture, not only in our country, but around the world. It was in 1961 that the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, a man named Newton Ninow, N-I-N-O-W, described television as a vast wasteland. That was in 1961. Well, if he were here now to see not only what's on television, but what is on the internet, which was not there when he was speaking, he would be shocked and highly dismayed. So it is high time for us to raise the awareness, to alert all the parents, to alert all of those in the state of this great threat that faces all of us, particularly our children. So this pledge that I will sign today I will be the first governor. This will be the first state to do this. And our Attorney General, Alan Wilson, is doing the same thing. We're taking the lead in the country to raise the awareness, consolidate all of our power, determine what other things we can do that we have not yet done, and we will do them all, because there's nothing more important than a safe, happy environment for our children to live and grow and become citizens. So with that, Ms. Hughes. Yes.
Thank you, Governor. Today is both historic, both in our beloved state, this is my home state, and in our great nation. And thank you, Governor McMaster, for being the first governor to spearhead a statewide effort by signing the first ever Children's Internet Safety Governor's Pledge to make the digital world safer for South Carolina's children. And thank you for your commitment to call on other governors to follow your lead and to take action by saying enough is enough to the internet-enabled sexual exploitation of youth. Governor McMaster has championed these issues for a long time. As Attorney General, he harnessed the resources of law enforcement and prosecutors to crack down on child internet predators, and he prosecuted over 500 perpetrators. That is a big number. Additionally, as he said, Attorney General Alan Wilson signed the first Children's Internet Safety State Attorneys General Pledge and is partnering with us to reach out to other state AGs to adopt the pledge. Both the Governor's Pledge and the Attorney's General Pledge are modeled after Enough is Enough's Children's Internet Safety Presidential Pledge, which was signed by candidate Donald Trump and endorsed by Hillary Clinton. This is a unifying issue. It's a bipartisan issue in which we can all check our differences at the door for the sake of children. The cornerstone of all of these pledges is the aggressive enforcement of all of the existing laws designed to protect kids from sexual exploitation. Governments can't parent, and parents can't enforce the law. And strong leadership must begin at the top to protect our vulnerable children from pornographers, child pornographers, sexual predators, and sex traffickers. No child who has unrestricted internet access is immune from its dangers, and that includes South Carolina's children. Pope Francis, who I recently had the opportunity to meet with as a participant in the World Congress on Child Dignity, once said that a society can be judged by the way it treats its children. And unfortunately, in our own nation, the sexual exploitation of children is at an all-time high. A few points, a few sad realities. Child sex trafficking jumped 846% between 2010 and 2015. Since the advent of the internet, child pornography has become even more depraved and includes the sexual abuse of children as young as toddlers and infants. The United States is number 2 in the world in hosting child pornography websites and is a top consumer of this content. America, unfortunately, is the number 1 producer and exporter of hardcore internet pornography that does not protect speech under our federal obscenity laws. Why? Because those laws have not been aggressively enforced at the federal level. This content fuels child sexual exploitation and abuse, violence against women, sex trafficking, child pornography, and sexual predation. It is highly addictive and neurochemically alters the developing minds and brains of our youth. These are startling statistics. Kids under the age of 10 now represent 22% of the online porn use by minor consumers, and they represent 1 in 10 visitors to porn video sites. Kids who look, according to the CDC, at violent X-rated content are 6 times more likely to force sex onto someone else. Defending the dignity and safety of our children in the digital world must be done on a global, national, and statewide basis, as well as home by home, school by school, and business by business. And I am so encouraged that South Carolina, under the inspired leadership of our governor, will become the model state to bring all the stakeholders together to unite all of us against these scourges that are corroding childhood, destroying families, and coarsening our culture. Governor, under your leadership, South Carolina has the opportunity to demonstrate the necessity and effectiveness of aggressively enforcing all the laws on the books, not just some of them, to rescue more children from the prison of child sex abuse, exploitation, and trafficking, and to join the other 13 states who have passed state resolutions declaring pornography a public health crisis based on the growing body of scientific research, and to educate and equip more parents and teachers to be the first line of defense, to protect kids on all the internet and devices that they're using, and to encourage South Carolina businesses and institutions to step up voluntary efforts to protect kids online and perhaps adopt programs like the National Safe Wi-Fi campaign that resulted in Starbucks and McDonald's filtering child pornography and pornography on their public Wi-Fi networks nationally. Ohio Christian University is doing the same thing, and now Catholic University. What about a little friendly competition with our colleges? Will it be my alma mater, Carolina Gamecocks, or the Clemson Tigers, where the rest of my family went, who will be the first to adopt safe Wi-Fi on their campuses for our youth? By working together, South Carolina's youth will enjoy a safer childhood and protected age of innocence. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. You mentioned my involvement in this. My involvement was spurred by Peggy's involvement. When she met with Ms. Hughes, next thing I knew, we were getting involved in this. So thank you for bringing this to my attention.
Anytime. This problem was not as pervasive as it was when Henry's and our children were growing up, and they're 30 and 31. But now the internet pornography isn't just passively harming children, it's actively encouraging their exploitation. So we're here today to affirm our commitment to protect our children. And now, Beth.
Thank you. My name is Beth Bernstein, for those of you who don't know me, and I serve in the South Carolina House of Representatives and I represent an area here right in Columbia, and it is my pleasure and honor to be able to stand here with Governor McMaster and his pledge to protect children of our state through the Children's Internet Safety Governor's Pledge. I'm proud to also serve on the Joint Citizens and Legislative Committee on Children. Our committee is focused on the health, safety, and well-being of our children in all settings, including the online world. Far too often, children are exposed to untold dangers while using the internet, including a risk of seeing graphic and disturbing images, but also the very real risk of predators who would take advantage of their online anonymity to connect with children in order to traffic them. One study has shown that predators can form a bond with the child in just 8 minutes of online communications. That is staggering to me. Trafficking in children is a tragedy occurring in every state, including our own. And it's important to remember that trafficking of children is a form of child sexual abuse. And the shocking statistic on child sexual abuse is that as many as 1 in 10 of our children are sexually abused each year. And when children are victimized and exploited, they suffer immediate and long-term health effects, including the lifelong impacts of trauma. In 2017, the Children's Committee made addressing the commercial sexual exploitation of children a focus initiative and began working towards solutions in collaboration with the Attorney General's Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force and other stakeholders who are here today. We appreciate the early and continued commitment in the Attorney General's office to preventing trafficking and internet crimes against children. These professionals are doing an amazing job. And together, we are all making progress, but there is much more work to be done. Every child, as he or she grows and learns, has the right to be free from the risk of exploitation online, to be free from exposure to damaging imagery, and free from those who would lure and groom them into becoming victimized. We know that online predators manipulate children and prey on their innocence and trust, and South Carolina should be a place where these predators are identified, prosecuted, and punished for the harm that they are doing to our children, to our kids. The Children's Internet Safety Pledge commits us as a state to taking care of our children online in just those ways. And Governor and Mrs. McMaster, thank you for your commitment to protecting our children through this pledge. Each of our children is our state's most precious resource, and finding ways to protect that resource is our highest calling. It really is. And to everybody here today, thank you for your presence. You are already part of the solution to this problem. Coming together as communities, service providers, advocates, we are all nurturing and protecting our state's future. And thank you for being here. And now to my favorite sheriff, Sheriff Leon Mott.
Sadly, we have monsters that prey on our children that live among us. They don't hide under the bed, and they don't hide in the closet. They sit in front of a computer or on a smartphone, and they go after our children every single day. The men and women behind me in law enforcement, we go after them every single day, and we arrest them. But we can't stop it ourselves. This is a community problem, and it's going to take a community effort to stop it. It takes a big team to be able to accomplish something to go after these bad guys that we've got in our community. Today is just one of those first steps in that community involvement and this team forming. TEAM, together everyone accomplishes more. And by the leadership of our governor and the First Lady, this team is forming. And we are going to be able to accomplish a lot now going after these sexual predators, these monsters that we have in our community. They are monsters, and we have to stop them, and we got to protect our kids. So again, I appreciate the governor and First Lady for your leadership in this. This sends a big message to all of us in law enforcement that you've got our back, that you're supporting us, and that we're going to be successful. So Governor, thank you again for your leadership and for this team that we've got formed here today.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, and thank you all for being here. We do have a great team. I'd like to acknowledge the about half the Attorney General staff is over here with us this morning. But we appreciate that commitment. We need to work together as a team to communicate, collaborate, and cooperate. And together, we cannot be defeated. So with that, let's sign the pledge. Ms. Hughes, if you'll come over.
All of y'all want to kind of shift over. Some of y'all can come around back. We've got plenty of space over here. Is that Nick All right, sir. All right, everybody just look down. Actually, y'all over here, if y'all could kind of move over this way. You can come around front. And everybody just look down at the document as he signs it. Good to go.